You get referred 4.5 times more if your company has an impact initiative. And I just read yesterday, impact initiative companies earned $9 more over their competitors when they had an impact initiative in it.
What is going on, DeRosa Insiders? It's Matt Faircloth. I'm excited for this Cash Flow Digest show. I'm excited for every Cash Flow Digest show, but today's topics are a little special to me, near and dear to my heart, dare I say, in line with the mission of our company to transform lives through real estate. So I just want to let you know how grateful I am to have this program to talk to you guys about all things cash flow and what to do with the cash flow once you got it, right? Let me ask you a deep question. This is deep. Let's go deep, right? You guys ready to go? We're at level 1 right now. You guys want to take the submarine down to level 2, level 3? Okay. Why do we do what we do, right? Why do people get involved in real estate investing? Why do people own businesses? Why do people start things up like this? Maybe, I'm sure it's to give their family a better life. Maybe it's to live a better life for themselves. For some knuckleheads out there, it's to drive a Ferrari. I get that. And I can promise you it's nowhere near as rewarding as you think it's going to be. And some do it just for the simple, surface level desires to make money. I get that. And once you've made money, once you've scratched your itch, there's a lot deeper cut to do it. And what we're going to talk about today with our guest is about the deeper levels that you can get to and more fulfilling, dare I say, things that you can do as you start building businesses and making money for yourself so that you can get out there and make a difference. So that's what making money really, really allows you to do. It allows you to free up yourself in time, but also make money so that you can have money to make a difference with, right? Because we want to make an impact. Your bank balance is not a good scorecard for how well you've lived life, right? So what if there are other scorecards out there, maybe differences you made impact than others? Our guest today, Randy Molland, has really created something amazing. And we're going to talk to Randy about how he's created something amazing and how he's coached others in doing that too. So guys, let's give lots of thumbs up and hearts for our guest today, Randy Molland. Randy, how are you today?
What's up, Matt? So excited to be here, my friend.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you here too, man. And I've been pumped for this episode for a while, ever since I saw that our mutual friend Spencer Carpenter brought you in to join us for this conversation. And it kind of sounds like a superhero thing. I mean, yeah, as you know, I love superheroes, right? But at the end of the day, it's beyond that. It's really about doing things that are more deeply fulfilling, right?
Yeah.
So let's hop in. For those that haven't heard of you, could you just take a minute and tell a bit of your backstory and introduce yourself to our audience?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you much. Thank you so much for having me on, man. This is going to be super fun. I love talking real estate. I love talking impact. And it's just two of my favorite spaces to be in. But my story started, I was an electrician by trade, grew up in a low income, but not low class family, as Tim's story, my friend would say. And so my family didn't have a ton of money, but they instilled some good principles and values in me. And I got some great leadership skills. By the time I was 25, I was able to buy my first house. And so I bought my first place, 25 years old. I had a really good mentor in the electrical industry that I was going to buy my company with. And we became really best friends and we're going to do all this really incredible stuff together. And he said to me, Randy, in 25 years, when you pay this house off, you're going to be living the dream. You're going to have no mortgage. You'll be able to travel, spend time with your family. Life's going to be so great for you in 25 years. And I was like, great. That's all we know, right?
You wait. Long time from now.
Grind it out. Everyone else is talking about retiring at 60 and you're going to retire at 50. And I'm like, I'm 10 years ahead of the game. Unfortunately, 2 weeks after he said that and I bought my house, he passed away in a job site accident. And so I watched my best friend die at 42 years old, the same guy that was just telling me how great life is going to be when I'm 50. So I had this realization of math doesn't really add up there for me. And that's not really what I want to do. So I did what any good millennial would do. I went to Google and I searched how to make a ton of money and never work again. And I found real estate investing. And so I just said, you know what? I studied it. I learned it. I was like, this seems like the right thing to do to become a millionaire quick and, build wealth. And I read all the stats, how many millionaires come from real estate. And so I just put all my eggs and efforts into that basket. I invested in a guru course where I went to the free thing and then got upsold to the 3-day course and then upsold to the, back end program.
Fish hook. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was the best investment I ever made.
That's awesome.
I was 25 years old. I just bought my house. I had no money, but the guy said to me when I was there, Randy, how much could you rent your house out for? And I said, I don't know. He said, well, what's your expenses? I said, $1,700 a month. He says, well, could you rent it for 22? I said, absolutely. So I went home the next day, listed it for $2,200. I lived in it for 6 months. I moved out. I moved into one of my friend's rooms in his houses that he charged $500 for. And I took the $500 I made in profit from my rental property, paid my friend, and I lived with no expenses. And that gave me the opportunity to become an entrepreneur because I had no overhead. I didn't have to worry about the mortgage. I didn't have to worry about anything. And now I kind of went, what seemed like my friends thought I went back a few steps was just catapulting me to get ready for my next adventure. And so as we started to do that, I had the confidence to go build a real estate investment company with zero overhead for my personal living. And I had the skills as a trade person to go do joint venture partnerships. So we would go out and we'd raise money and then we'd go buy a property together. We'd renovate it. We'd manage it. We'd put the tenants in it. And then we'd split profit 50-50. So a 50-50 JV. As we started having some success with this, we started running a meetup. As we started running the meetup, we started growing fast, quick, and things were getting very chaotic. And I had this goal that we were going to retire by the time I was 30. Well, I did such a good job of working myself into this industry that I ended up having a non-epileptic seizure by the time I was 28. And I put myself in the hospital. My body just couldn't cope. I didn't deal with the stress of losing my best friend, right? I lost him. And then literally weeks later was Googling how to just go make money and not deal with any of the pain that I had dealt with. So my body didn't deal with the trauma. I was very stressed out. I was in the hustle culture. I was grinding absolutely, got to work 18 hours a day because that's what successful people do. And, I can't sleep and I have to do 15 workouts a day to be fit. And I have to do all these other things. And I worked myself into a non-epileptic seizure. So coming out of that, I said, God, I don't get it. You showed me clearly that waiting till 50 to retire wasn't the plan. And now you're showing me that retiring at 30 isn't the plan. What's the plan here? Because I don't get what's going on. It was a lot to go through by the time I was 28 in my age. And so I came out and I heard a quote that said, if you want to make $1 million a year, build a business that does 2 million, give $1 million away, and you'll be the happiest millionaire on the planet. And I'm a pretty simple guy. I come from a trades background, not very educated. And what I heard there was, if you go and focus on making impact, we will take care of you financially for the rest of your life. And so that's what I decided to do. So we started taking our meetup that was free. We started charging $10 at the door and donating that to charity. And all of a sudden we built this huge culture of people that wanted to come make an impact and join our donation team to come to our meetup. I'm like, well, that's kind of cool. And we said, we support an organization called Kids Sport Victoria. For every $300, you put one kid through sport. So for every 30 people that came to our meetup, we were able to help one kid go through sport. And that's what we said at our meetup. Thanks for coming to our meetup. Thanks for joining us. Because you showed up today, you were able to help put one kid through sport. Then we would talk real estate investing for an hour, 2 hours. And then we'd say, we don't want to stop there though. We want to help 2 kids. So next month, when you guys come back, who do you know that you could bring with you that can help us make our impact of getting 2 kids supported? Well, next thing you know, we went from 30, 60, 90, 120 people, filled the room, lineups out the door. Well, half these people didn't even know what real estate investing was. They just wanted to be a part of the movement that we created. And so that triggered something in my brain. I was like, well, this is kind of cool. I don't even have to sell real estate to them for them to come to my real estate meetup. I have to sell impact to them. So I said, what if I could do this in my real estate portfolio? So I said, I want to make more impact with real estate. Why don't I donate $10 per door per month from my real estate portfolio? So our 10plex would donate, $100 a month, and our 20plex would donate $200 a month. And every 30 units we bought, we were able to go put another kid through sport. So we stood on stage and we said, look, guys, all you chose to be here because you want to make impact and you want to get into real estate. Well, what if we gave you an opportunity to join us on our mission to get great returns for real estate, but also offered you the opportunity to join our mission in helping us put more kids through sport? And
Can you pause for a second? What does putting kids through sport mean?
So it's an organization we support called Kids Sport Victoria. And we paid, and for every $300 that you donated, they were able to pay the tuition for one kid to get into organized sport that normally wouldn't have had the opportunity.
Got it. So whatever sport it may be,
Soccer, football, hockey, dancing, gymnastics, anything that they needed to get into sport.
Okay. Are you in Canada?
Yeah.
Okay. How did I know that? I could tell because Canadians kind of talk a little differently. So kind of getting through sport. And I'm like, that sounds like a Canadian thing to say. And I know a lot of Canadians. And that sounds like, and we didn't clarify that on what part of the world you're in and all that. I sense Canada on you. What part of Canada are you in?
British Columbia.
Nice. Fast forward, buying the 10, you bought the 10 unit and all that. Now all these things are now contributing. Sorry to cut you off, but I just had to know about I got to know the Canada thing and I got to know about putting kids through sport and what that means. So pick up where you left off there. Sorry.
And so a big part, I'll touch on that. And so a big part of picking Kids Sport Victoria for us was when my partner and I said, at a business partner, and it was like, what do we really believe in? And we both played sports, we both love sports, big sports fanatics. And we said, well, let's just Google, charities to support within kids and sports in Victoria. And we found this organization. But what we realized was that our stories aligned to what we wanted to support. Because when I was growing up, sports taught me leadership skills. It taught me how to work within a team. It taught me how to stay away from drugs and alcohol and get caught up in the wrong crowds because I was so busy. And when we realized that we could support kids to go do the same thing, and I said this statement, I was like, it's crazy to me that there's kids out there that don't get the same opportunity that we got just because their parents can't afford for them to go through sports. And that hit me. And I was like, well, if I can use my business to pay for kids to do that, I'm probably going to be more motivated than ever to build this business because I want every kid to have the opportunity to go through sport. I think it's criminal that they don't have the ability to do it. So
that's so many lessons that it teaches kids,
Totally. And so that's what inspired us. So our business became about the impact we could make, not the investments we were doing. And so when I started talking to people, Matt, that's where my passion came from. That's what led was like, we have to all work together so we can buy more units to make a bigger impact in this world. And everyone was like, yes, we need to do that. Great. How much would you like to invest in our portfolio to go help us help more kids? And all of a sudden in 12, 13 months, we were able to raise over $12 million for some of our development projects and getting into the bigger space. We grew a mastermind to be one of the top Canadian real estate investment masterminds. And all of our stuff just blew up as soon as we started adding impact to it, because we realized we weren't selling anything. We were inviting people to join us on our journey to go make impact in the world.
So let me just unpack a few things here.
Yeah.
Right? And we'll get to a lot of the excuses that people have as to like, well, I can't give back yet because I got to get my financial house in order because I'm still broke and so I can't give and everything like that. Right. We'll get to that in a minute here. Right. When people join you on your ventures, right, is it understood that, hey, this thing we're doing, 10-unit, whatever we're buying, is going to make $1 and it's going to send you 30 cents, it's going to send me 20 cents, and it's going to send 50 cents to the putting kids through sport or whatever it is. I know my ratios may be off there, but do investors understand that the things the thing they're investing in is going to do good? And arguably, we got to, present it in the right light. They would be making more money had it not be making donations, but it's okay because they get that you're making money while you make a difference, right? Is that the way that it's set up?
Yeah, 100%. Okay. So we started with that. And one of the challenges we found was we got into the conversations. And that was the number one people said. We're dealing with people that are trying to build their retirement, people that are, every dollar matters, right? We're not dealing with people that had $10 million in their bank account. And we're like, oh yeah, just take an extra few dollars off. They're like, yeah, that sounds great, but you're taking a return from 18% down to like 14% by doing this. And, or 16% or whatever it was. We're taking a few points off. And, Jimmy and Sally over there, I mean, I could go get 3 or more points with them. And so we realized what we needed to do is that it needed to be our initiative, not the team's initiative. So in a GP LP structure, we would do it as our GP side. So if our profits, what we're going to do is donate this. And then what we said is, because we're doing this, you can collectively work as part of your initiative. But at the end of the day, when we write you a check, if you feel that we did an incredible job, we're going to ask you to match our donations that we put in through the project. So now we weren't asking them to do it during the project to sacrifice their profits. But when you get a check for $100,000 or $50,000 back, and we're like, hey, we did $10 per door per month. It was $100 a month for 20 months. Do you want to donate $2,000? It's like, okay, yeah, here's $2,000. So we found that on the back end, it was a lot easier to ask. And when we led with that, people said, wow, you're willing to sacrifice your profits to support these kids? Absolutely. That's how much we believe in our mission and what we're trying to do. We're not here to take advantage of anybody. We're here to make an impact, grow a very strong portfolio, build a brand that people want to be recognized with and grow with. And do you want to be a part of that? And that was really what changed. So we realized quickly, for your audience listening, by giving impact inside and our 50-50 deals hurt our ability to go do more impact.
I get that. And I think that's, sorry, go finish.
No, I was going to say, but what we realized was that when we made it our initiative, it cost us a few $100s. But that's what allowed us to scale faster. So when we look at giving, it was like, call it marketing dollars if you want. Those were our marketing dollars, was our donations that brought in so many more people. So it didn't cost us anything. It actually expanded our portfolio 10 times by being able to do this. So sometimes people say, oh, this is like you gave away a bunch of your profit for this. No, I actually got a ton more investors and way happier humans investing in me because of the way we did it.
Yeah, you go big to give big, right? Like the name of your company there, right? I think that I commend you on, because we've had thoughts about this kind of thing to say, hey, put your money into this thing, and this thing will go and put its money into another venture, and then that venture will generate, like you said, 18% profit. And it's okay. We're going to give 10, 20% of that away. And so we're going to clip you off the top, and you're going to make a little bit less return, but it's going to do good, right? It's logical to do it that way. But you're right. Some of the human nature is like, well, I don't want to get clowned. But you're probably getting around the same amount of voluntary donations, if not more, I would think, going to your ventures, because you've led by example. You led first, like you're willing to think, I'm willing to give my profit away. And my guess is that you're making it an option. That's that your investors can choose to donate, to put kids through sport, and they don't have to.
I love kids in sports, but maybe you love cancer, right? And all of a sudden it's like, hey, do you want to donate, a portion of all of our stuff to kids in sport? And people are like, well, I really want my money to go to cancer. And it's like, okay. I'm like, so I'm actually not going to invest with you. And it's like, well, you like the project, don't you? Yeah, but I just don't like your mission. So it's like, the whole thing we wanted to do is we didn't want to stop investors from being able to invest in our projects, right? They wanted to work with us. They wanted to do things. And as soon as we added that initiative that you had to donate, we were forcing them to donate by the profit of the properties. It just didn't align. But when we stepped back and said, we're going to do this for Kidsport, when you get paid, if you want to donate to Kidsport, great. Or choose whatever charity you want to do. But we just want you to know that we want you to maximize your impact. And the second question we often got asked was, what if there was a loss, or what if something happened on the project? Do you still donate? Do you do this? What does that look like? And so we eliminated that by saying it comes from us,
I get it.
right?
It's a good point, by the way. You know,
100%,
are
you know,
you going to make the pain worse by writing a donation on a project
totally.
that
And
lost?
so we said, no, that comes from our end. And yes,
Sure.
we will just go to our savings to make that happen because that's what we're committed to. We're committed to donating, you know, these supporting every kid every month.
Right.
But it's not going to come from your end. And so it took us a long time to figure out these problems. You know, I didn't know a lot of impact investors. I didn't know a lot of people building this model. I still don't know a lot of people that build it directly into a reoccurring, consistent donation to charity. Because the other thing, Matt, is when we went through the pandemic, guess who was still donating to charity every single month, supporting the companies that were going under, that couldn't run events and were struggling? We were, because it was a passive income donation from our portfolios, and all of our portfolios stayed strong. So
absolutely. There's other folks out there. We had Whitney Sewell on the show a couple of weeks ago. Whitney is a US based real estate operator, and he has funded 30 adoptions. Adoptions in the US is a crazy expensive venture, in the mid 5 figures or more that it could cost. So his company has funded 30 of those adoptions to help people that want to adopt it and bring a child into their life. They have a lot of love to give. They want to bring a child in. If for one reason or another, can't have a child and want to adopt.
Let me share something with you again, Matt. That's going to be a little bit different here. I'm going to drive us in a direction that I really want to share. So there's people are saying like, oh, this is kind of cool, Randy. It's a fun idea. But there's a huge component behind how I know this worked. When I started doing this, I started researching, why do people want to work with companies that have impact initiatives? Why did our meetup go from 30 people to 120 people, packed with people that didn't even understand real estate? Why did our portfolio go from, being able to buy a few properties to raising $12 million in 13 months because we had the impact? And when you start studying the research, there's actually 89% of people said they would switch brands or move to a company that made impact. 89% of people would switch to a brand or a company that made impact. So when we're offering the same returns and the same product in the same space, I'm capturing 89% more attention. I don't believe in statistics being the end all be all, but when we're talking 90% of people, when you put a piece of paper in front of them, they will check, I want to work with a company that makes an impact. When they're scrolling through websites, when they're looking at social, when you're in conversations, I'm 89% getting their attention more. So when I started realizing that, I said, this is cool. Tell me more. 80% of people are more likely to remember the name of a company that had an impact initiative to it. So when you talk about your impacts and it says, the reinvestors go big to give big, for every $300, we're able to help one kid go through sports. Now they're like, oh, I remember that investment company. When they're talking to their friends, they're saying, what real estate investment company should I work with? 80% of people are more likely to remember a name. And that stat leads to 4.5 times being referred more. You get referred 4.5 times more if your company has an impact initiative. And I just read yesterday a stat that came out that said impact initiative companies earned $9 more over their competitors when they had an impact initiative in it. So it wasn't just this cool concept. When I started understanding the language behind it, the percentages behind it, that's when I started to get seriously. And I'm sure you're a guy of sales and NLP and mastering the game. And we said, well, instead of going NLP and convincing people to invest in our projects, what if we use the same but the same methods to get them deep into their feelings of wanting to invest with us instead of just the project? So that's when we started saying, like, our tagline was so simple, and I want to share this with your audience because this was the sales propriety system that changed everything for us. It was, hey, Matt, my name's Randy. I'm a co-founder of a company called The Reinvestors, who we are and what we do. And we raise, real estate investment projects to go buy small multifamilies, and we provide 18 to 20% returns for our investors. I've now check. That's what I want to do. That's sales 101. I have to get them in the door for the right product. And then I'd say, but one of the most amazing things is that for every 30 units we buy, we're able to put one kid through organized sport. Now I've got that 89% more attention. And they're like, well, tell me about that thing. Well, now they're away from real estate. And now I'm a human to human connection. And when I have that interaction, now I can say, and Matt, I'm sure you can agree, sports play a massive impact on a kid's life. And it did for me that when I was an athlete, it taught me leadership skills and it taught me blah, 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 that led me to where I am today to be able to sit in front of you. And we want to give that opportunity to as many kids as we can. So are you interested in not only getting some of the best returns, partnering with an incredible company, but working with us on helping our mission to make sports accessible to every child? Tell me you don't want to learn more about that. Tell me you don't want to be in that. And
you're giving great returns, and you're also making a difference with it and giving an eye. And really, like, by you putting yourself first, they're not getting any type of, they get to choose on what they're doing with their money. I love it.
And you know what happened 90% of the time, Matt? They came back and would say, I absolutely know what you mean. My granddaughter, my son, my daughter, my kid, my this, my that. Changed life. And I get them to tell about their story. And you know anything better than anyone. When people want to invest, they invest with who they know, like, and trust. what kind of know, like, and trust does that build? And that's how we were able to build this relationship. And what I teach and what I do is around this whole concept of talking about your product, talking about your initiative and why it means something to you, and then asking them to partner on your mission to make an impact in the world. Because if that's your ask, like, do you want to invest with us and help us with kids? It's really hard for them to be like, sorry, I don't want to help kids. Like, it's like, no, I actually really want to do. And if they didn't want to invest, they'd say, I at least know that will.
Yeah, it's interesting, and I think that the other side of creating investment products that are like there to do good, right, are investing in things that also do good in the world. And we have a fund that we raise dollars that goes into short-term loans, right? We will not support a loan that doesn't make difference. The loans we originate have to either create jobs, they have to create housing, they have to take something dilapidated and put it back online, kind of fighting back against the entropy of the world. And there's been loans that have been put in front of us that are just, no, it's not doing enough good with the money. And we still charge competitive market rates. In the US, 12% is a good rate to get for a short-term bridge loan like that, AKA hard money, right? So yes, we get market rate for the money, but we also will only choose things that are doing good. Have you done anything on that side of it? Meaning like raising investor dollars for things that are benefiting the world? I get you're doing donations on your side, leading by donating, by giving first, right? What about, have you thought of other things to do with regards to what you can do with investor capital that also makes a further difference in the operation side?
Yeah, we haven't gone much deeper than what we did. There's, I did a lot more impact on and supporting people with on the impact side of like, cool, maybe you have a 30 unit building. How do you use that building to make more impact by saying, you know what, we're going to take one unit here. We're going to offer it at reduced rates to a single mom. And this is going to become our impact building. So I did a lot of consulting. I didn't do a lot of investing with, but I did a lot of consulting for companies, real estate companies, on how they can start adding some of these impact initiatives, because what that does is that just draws that attention in from outside investors to help them do more. So it's similar in the sense of like, hey, when you work with us, good is going to happen. When people lend with you, they know it's for good initiative projects. And there's a lot of things like, how can we, instead of like getting into basically what we're trying to do is just take greed out of the equation and just try and be the best human you can. So if it's like, if you have to build a playground on your property to get a zoning bylaw passed or something like that, instead of trying to do the cheapest, worst thing possible, what if you actually created something that was nicer and better? And you went to council and said, look, your expectation is A, but we're actually going to take it one step further. We're going to take a portion of our profit and we're going to make B, and we're going to make it better than what you asked for, because we want to make our community better. We want to give hope. We want to do all this kind of stuff. And then all of a sudden, now you've got the council that's buying into what you're doing because they know you donate $10 per door per month and you're going to bring the community better, and you just get everybody else on board. So if you have the ability to sway other decisions as well with this stuff, there's monetized value in time to say, we'll put your project through in 3 months as opposed to 9 months because we love this initiative that you're trying to do with the park here. So there's a lot of other ways that we've been able to do that in different spaces outside of just donating dollars. It's donating time and supporting the community and building parks and trying to make everything better.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, we own apartment buildings and we've done playgrounds at the apartment buildings because, it's good to have amenities for people to go and enjoy themselves. I mean, you could just make an apartment building kind of like a compound. There are financial benefits. People tend to stay longer where there's something to do and something for their kids to do or whatever. But it also is a good impact. And it's a feel good thing too, Randy, when you go to an apartment building, like the one shown in the backdrop here. That one's in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, right? When we first bought that property, no joke, Randy, there were drug dealers hanging out at this property, right? And we've since gotten them to move on down the road, let's say nicely, right? They no longer live in our property. And in the spots that they used to hang out, we've opened up a clearing and put 2 playgrounds in 2 different locations of that complex. And now I got like 30 kids running around and hanging out and making real memories where there used to be drug dealers hanging out a year or two ago, right? It's really, it does feel good. It does feel like you're making an impact and everything. Speaking of the measuring stick for what you guys have done, how many kids has your organization Go Big to Give Big affected since you've gotten started?
Oh,
if you got to give me a rough
it's been
number.
So long since I was doing this. Honestly, the biggest impact came starting with our meetup, because we were supporting $1,200 was 4 kids every single month. We ran that meetup for 7 years every single month. So at some point we stopped, counting and tracking. And I wish I kept more track. This is going back 8 years ago, Matt, that we started this. So this isn't like, this isn't something that's just new to us. This is from so long ago. So I mean, you got to imagine I'll just call it on average 5 kids or 4 kids every single month. Plus our portfolio
times 12 times 7,
starting to go up. Plus, I mean, our portfolio, we got up to 50 units in our portfolio starting that way. But then once we've got all this money, we said, hey, we need to go into development. So we ended up developing like 150 units brand new. So that kind of changed our model a little bit because we didn't have the per month thing. So we started donating per development, and it got a little bit more. I keep it simple on podcasts because I don't like going so deep. But I would say, and that doesn't even include the charity events that we sponsored for thousands.
You got to be in the thousands.
Easy.
I sense, and I really admire this. I sense a lot of being humble on you, like that, meaning like you're not here to pound your chest. I've changed all these lives.
Yeah,
You're just doing the right thing. That's it. You're just doing the right thing. Bottom line, right?
I do it for my own. I do it for my own personal greed for how
my
good it makes
speculation, my friend, is that you've probably impacted well in the thousands on children's lives, man. And that's really
now where we've gone. We do a lot of other stuff as well. We supported a sex trafficking organization down in Mexico, and we wrote them a $15,000 check at the end of the year to help them out with a bunch of stuff. We've supported, I've adopted kids in Haiti, and I've done, different organizations. So at some point, it kind of just became, we created what we call our giving account. We move money into our giving account every single month, and then it distributes out to all the different organizations that we support now and the work we do. And we everything that we touch has impact initiatives. So we got into coaching and training, and our masterminds donated, $250 per member at 50 members, and it started to just it all is just compounded now into one big happy life.
Big check going out the door, right? Yeah. And it's not about, and I already get, I see that. It's not about keeping score either. It's just about, like you said, just doing good. And the more you put out into the world, the more you get back, right? So, okay, got it. What's next, right? I want to talk about some of the other things you do to keep yourself personally motivated, like that awesome plaque you got behind you there. Before we get there, what's next for your business, your company, your vision? What's like the big, hairy mountain that you're climbing right now that is your new, the new obstacle that you're tackling today?
So I've stepped back a little bit from real estate, left my business partner to kind of manage it and do that. I've just found such a passion in consulting people. I consulted, our mastermind was all purpose driven or impact driven real estate entrepreneurs. I built that up, scaled it to one of the top masterminds in Canada. Canada's like the size of California, so don't get excited. It's not like the biggest in America. It's like, the biggest in one state. And so that was a lot of fun, but we taught a lot of impact and stuff. And so I said, I want to do this more. So I actually do it now for all organizations, all entrepreneurs, where I've built, a bit of a program, like a philanthropic playbook that we come in and we build everything for your organization for the impact initiatives. And I'm really excited to really define or redefine the way that we talk about capitalism. It's, a lot of people have felt it's for their own personal greed right now. Yeah. I want to make more money so I can get a nicer car and a nicer boat, and I need financial freedom and I need this stuff. But when we go into organizations, say, what if we change that? What if it was to make an impact and support kids, and it now became how many kids can you support, not how much money you can make? And we take you from going a six-figure earner to being a 7-figure giver, and we change that narrative and the attitude. I'm really just about changing capitalism because we need capitalism. That's how the economy runs the best, when people are building businesses, hiring and producing products. But what if it was all for good? And with all the stats that I shared, there's a million of them. They're 80 to 90% that consumers want this. I just want to be the spearhead of changing all businesses to do good. Real estate to real estate. Here's an example, Matt. What about if every time you bought a property, every real estate agent, mortgage broker, accountant, title company, insurance company, they all donated 10% of all the revenue they made from any transaction you did that had impact? You compound that over your deals, plus the impact you make in your deals. Next thing you know, you're like, holy smokes, we can be donating hundreds of thousands of dollars for every transaction that I do. It's crazy.
You've said, okay, this is what I'm doing, and I'm going to do it first. And you can join me or not. And I think that's a testament to what happens when you inspire people to move forward. What I also want to compliment you on is that you're creating and I just made this term up. You're more than welcome to steal it if you like, but this is win-win capitalism that you've created, right? There is often what you and I do in real estate gets compared to the board game Monopoly, which is fine. My kids love Monopoly too, right? But Monopoly is win-lose capitalism, right? For me to win the game of Monopoly, I have to put you out of the game. Right? I have to cause you to go bankrupt for you to win, for me to win the game, right? I have to cause the rest of the people at the table to go bankrupt. And if I'm the only one standing, the only one that didn't go bankrupt and go completely broke and bust and live on, and everything like that, then I win, right? That's win-lose capitalism, right? But win-win capitalism is not to compare it to Monopoly any further or whatever, but it is what you're doing. And it is allowing people on their own fruition, their own inspirations to join alongside what it is you're doing, right? How great would it be at Monopoly if you could land on things in the board game? Hey, there's nothing in Monopoly that causes you to donate to anything, right? But what if you could go and throw $50 up every here and again if you win a big thing in Monopoly? Hey, here's $50 for the next time somebody lands on jail, it's covered. Here it is.
Totally.
Buy only voluntarily. You can do that.
Yeah.
You could do it, or you don't have to.
How good would you feel when that guy lands on jail and says, "Thank you, Matt, for covering my jail thing"? And you're like, "Dude, I got you. It's all good." And the next time you land on something of his, he goes, "You know what? I'll give you a little discount. I'll hook you up because we're homies now, right?"
Right. We're tight. I still got to get rent. Still got to pay my bills. Still capitalism, right? But I'll cover you, right? I really love what you're doing. And can we touch real quick before we jump here on some of the personal pushing yourself, physical stuff that you've done? Because it's all related, right? You've pushed yourself, thought differently in how you built your business, but you've also pushed yourself physically and your physical training, hopefully no longer having strokes or any other kind of health breakdowns. You're probably hopefully doing it in a healthy manner now. But could you talk us through real quick some of those journeys you've taken yourself on physically, and probably benefited yourself mentally and in the business as well?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that I got really into just studying entrepreneurship, and I started
Yeah.
studying the most successful people. And as they faced challenges in their businesses, they would go do physical activities to combat that, to combat the
Mm,
stress, to combat the challenges. And everyone would say, when I was on my run, I came out with this idea. I created this clarity.
yeah.
When I was in this mental battle between me and myself in a physical state, is where I learned how to build the grit to go solve the problem in my business. And I was
Mm,
going through some challenges of, do I want to leave real estate and go be, a business entrepreneur? Real estate's my life, my identity, my passion, everything's there, but I'm feeling called to go this way. So I said, you know what? I'm going to go sign up for an event that will give me the freedom to think. So this plaque behind me here is an event called 29029. It's ran by a guy named Jesse Itzler
yeah,
and
no,
Colin O'Brady and Mark
I don't know
Aldrich.
him, but I've
Yeah,
seen him
yeah,
speak a few
incredible,
times at
incredible
abundance
human.
events and stuff like that. So yeah,
And their whole
yeah.
notion was they didn't want to go climb Everest because they didn't have the time and they had families. So they said, what if we hiked up a ski mountain and gondoled down, and we did it for the equivalent height of 29,029 feet? Right? And so it's a 36-hour challenge. They take a few hundred people to a mountain, and it's one of the best experiences you can ever have. But the physicality is, I went there with a mission. I said, I'm going to hike nonstop through the night until I complete all 29,029 feet. So I did that, Matt. I hiked nonstop, didn't sleep,
Wow.
22 and a half hours. It was, just over a marathon. It was probably 5 miles more than a marathon, but 29,000 feet of elevation. And it was in those moments where I got a lot of clarity on my business and my life and where I wanted to go. And I was like, that was good. So I finished, a few days later, and I got back home and I was like, there's still one message that I didn't get there. I didn't know what it was, but I was like, I feel like I got something. It's the first time I really tapped into a different part of me that I hadn't felt before. I'm like, I want to go back there because there was something more that I missed.
Hmm.
And you got to think, when you're 22 hours in, you have a lot of delusional states. You're by yourself in
You
the
kind of
middle of
start
the
tripping.
night
Yeah, I know.
on a
I've
ski
been there.
mountain. Like, you kind of have almost like a psilocybin type trip
Yeah.
because you just are delirious. And I was like, I need to go back there, but I want to find that pain again. So 9 days later, I signed up for a marathon. I'd never ran more than 10K in my life. I ran quite often, but never more than 10K. And so 9 days later, I said, you know what? I want to go do something. So I found a marathon. I signed up for it, and I went and ran a marathon 9 days later. And so I did 2 marathons in 9 days. And it was in that marathon in minute 14, when my hips were sore, my knees were sore, that I got into that trance. And I had 4 hours of running the same boring road to think about what I wanted to do. And it was in those moments that I had some of the biggest life epiphanies that changed
Mm.
everything for me, and how I wanted to show up in the world and the impact I wanted to make and what did it all mean. And coming out of that marathon was 100%, when I started, a different trajectory of life. So I still use physical fitness to this day. I'm going through a lot of just like personal and business growth right now. It's hard. Growing a business is hard. Anyone that says it's
Yeah.
easy has never done it properly.
Yeah, yeah.
One day you're making millions, and one day you're trying to fight bankruptcy, and you fight that back and forth. Any good entrepreneur knows that feeling. And so I just signed up for an event called the Last Man Standing, and it's an ultra race. It's a backyard ultra. So you run a 4 mile loop every hour on the hour at the top of the hour. So you run an 8, 9, 10, 11, and you have to complete your 4 miles in that time. And you go until there's only one runner left that doesn't complete in that 4 mile loop in the hour. And so a lot of people do these events and they run 100 hours. They literally run for 3 days straight. I don't think I'm going to go there, but I'm hoping to run for, 13, 14, 15 hours, getting into the, whatever that's going to be, 30, 40, 50 miles through this lap and this race. And I'm just really excited to continue to push myself physically, because in every moment that I've pushed my brink of physicality, my business has exponentially grown on the byproduct of it.
Mm. Very, very inspiring. And I mean, just endorphins, dopamine, all those things really bring out new epiphanies, new ideas. They are, and in some ways, awe-inspiring, idea-inspiring, and can be somewhat psychedelic, as you said. A lot of my inspirations have come right over there. That's my treadmill,
Yeah.
and that is. So as we start to sweat out, it's almost like you're sweating out the bad ideas to make room for new good ones to come in, right? So I encourage anyone to engage in sweat therapy and pushing yourself a little bit harder physically, because it inspires you to push yourself harder mentally in your business, and you realize that your boundaries are way deeper than what you think they are. If you haven't listened, you probably have, but David Goggins has some phenomenal content out there about what happens when you push yourself physically, what it opens up for you elsewhere in life. And I used to work out in the gym, listening to him talking in his book, Can't Hurt Me. And then every other word out of his mouth is profanity in that book. So you got to be okay with that. But the life that he lived and epiphanies that came up through pushing himself harder and harder and harder is about as inspiring as it gets. And it makes you, while you're on that treadmill, want to dial it up a little bit, see what
Listening
we're
to
all
David
capable
Goggins
of.
talk about how he ran marathons and stuff with like broken legs and broken femurs and stuff. And you're sitting there like an hour in, and you're like, my knees are kind of sore. You're like, I could do more.
Yeah, I can do more. If he can, I can, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Randy, before we leave you, man, how do people reach out to you to hear more about you for the investments that you have, to learn more about how they can become, what do you call it here, a fractional chief giving officer for their own company, and to just join all the awesome initiatives that you have, man? You're doing amazing stuff. How do people contact you so they can join what you're up to?
Yeah, my favorite thing right now is just consulting companies on how they can add this into their own businesses. It's my favorite thing in the world right now. So if you go to gobigtogiving.com, we're in a bit of a rebrand, but it comes out on Monday. So gobigtogiving.com is the best place. Or head over to LinkedIn and find Randy Molland, Molland. Send me a DM. I love chatting with people. It's my favorite topic. I spend all day just like connecting and chatting with people around how they can make a bigger impact in the world and use their businesses to do good. That's where I love to be. So anyone that's listening that wants to make a bigger impact, or, get rid of exhaustion, burnout, and be more inspired, that's where I was. Recreate your business. That's also where I want to chat with them. So
Randy can be the shot of espresso that you need, guys, whether it's doing another Everest run like he did, or finding a way to give back and impact thousands of kids like he did as well, guys. You guys all need to reach out to Randy at gobigtogivebig.com on Monday. And there's the website right there. Look him up on LinkedIn as well. Randy, thank you so much for joining us on the Cash Flow Digest. It's so awesome to connect with a fellow business owner that's really out and gets that making money is not as fulfilling anywhere near as people think that it is. It's really so much more important to make an impact and make a difference. So thank you for joining us today, Randy.
Thank you. And the one thing I'll leave your audience with the quote is: more money won't make you more happy, but how you use it will. So thank you so much, Matt, for having me in. I appreciate it, my friend. And I appreciate to grow a relationship with you.
Well said. Love that. Thank you. Guys, super inspiring, right? I mean, it's, as you guys can tell by that jazz as I am, it just feels good to do good. It feels, and I can tell you, I've made 6-figure checks from closings and stuff like that. And as much as you think that those checks are going to make you feel fulfilled, the most fulfillment I've ever felt is when I've done good with what I've made. And Randy has as well, right? So what a great, inspiring reminder for us all here. Hey guys, Matt Faircloth here. Thank you for listening again to the Cash Flow Digest. I really appreciate you guys doing that. If you guys want to hear more about what DeRosa Group has to offer, go to DeRosa Group, DEROSA Group.com, DeRosaGroup.com online. You can hear about all the great things that we offer from an educational standpoint and passive investment standpoint on our website. See you there. And if you guys want to join our online community, DeRosa Insiders on Facebook, where you can watch this program get recorded every Friday at noon Eastern, and you can come on as even a guest or ask questions on the show. We hope to see you guys on our online community, DeRosa Insiders. See you there.